Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Bronx Music Heritage Center's Percussion Discussion for July. My name is Elena Martinez. I'm one of the co-artistic directors of the Bronx Music Heritage Center. And today, we're lucky to have with us live for us of part 2 of the Garifuna percussion for our event. And you know, a few months ago, back in the spring, we had a part 1 of our Garifuna percussion discussion through Zoom. Now we're slowly making our way up to semi-live. We're going to have all the drummers here on stage with us again to talk a little bit about, sort of review some of the stuff that was talked about in the last program in part 1. You're going to learn about the different regional styles of the Garifuna from Honduras, Guatemala, and Belize, and to learn a little bit more and have them play together here. Before we start our program, though, I just want to give a shout out to our funders. The Bronx Music Heritage Center programming is supported in part by the National Endowment for the Arts, the New York State Council on the Arts with the support of the New York State Legislature, public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs in partnership with the City Council, the Lily Auchincloss Foundation, the Howard Gilmore Foundation, and the Laurie M. Tisch Illumination Fund. And with that, to get you started and tell you a little bit about percussion discussion today, I want to introduce to you our other artistic director. Many of you, probably most of you know him through the jazz world, the salsa world, music education, Mr. Bobby Sanabria.
Thank you, Elena. Hello, everyone, everybody that's tuning in, wherever you are in the world. Through the magic of technology, we were able to do this. This is the Bronx Music Heritage Center, our beautiful art gallery space. We will be moving soon, probably by the end of September, to our new venue, which is getting finished off, being built. It's a 250-seat theater called the Bronx Music Hall. That is a multi-use theater. We'll be able to retract the seats, get into up to 500 people there in there standing. We'll be able to do all the things that we're doing here at the Bronx Music Heritage Center, but on a larger level. Right now, we're using the amphitheater that's part of the plaza outside. So we've been doing some great live stream events. But today, we're doing this live stream event from the confines of the Bronx Music Heritage Center. Well, you see some drums right over here, okay? These are not barriles de bomba, if you're familiar with the Afro-Puerto Rican tradition of drumming and dance. They look similar to that, but these are part of the Garifuna tradition. And what is the Garifuna tradition? Well, we have one of the foremost experts and fantastic musicians from this culture to explain a little bit to us of kind of like being Elegua in the Yoruba tradition, opening the doors for us to illuminate us, to inform us, to educate us about what is the tradition of Garifuna culture and this great musical drumming tradition. I'd like to introduce to you now James Lovell. James, how are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm Bobby. I also want to take this opportunity to say hi to our listeners, and I'm happy to be here at the Bronx Music Heritage Center.
Tell us a little bit about the Garifuna people, you know, their roots, et cetera, et cetera. We have a large community of Garifuna here in the Bronx. I believe in the South Bronx, we have the largest group of Garifunas here. There's a group in big population in the Los Angeles area and in other parts of the United States. But tell us the roots of the Garifuna.
Okay, the Garifuna people are made up of 3 cultures. The first coming from West Africa. The Africans coming, pre-Columbian Africans coming here to this new world before Columbus. And then we also have the indigenous people in the Caribbean and South America known as the Loconos, previously known as the Arawaks, and the Kalinagos, also known as Carib. Okay? So these 3 cultures, they intermingled and intermarry among themselves, and they have an offspring known as Black Caribs, which was a European misnomer, but we call ourselves Garifuna. So we were, our homeland was St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but the British Empire, or the government, they exiled our people, our ancestors, in 1797. And that was March 11, 1797. They exiled the Garinaga people and they landed in Roatan, Honduras, and they also moved to Guatemala, Belize, Nicaragua, and now here in major cities in the United States of America.
So besides the Garifuna language, which is a combination of these cultures that
Yes.
you mentioned, the ones that landed in places like Honduras, where Spanish is spoken, you also speak Spanish.
Yes, what happened when our ancestors landed in Honduras, they came in contact with the Spanish people from Spain. So automatically, very resourceful and intelligent people, we adapted to the Spanish language. We learned how to speak Spanish because of the intermingling with the Spanish people in Honduras. Likewise, when we landed in Honduras, in Belize, that was colonized by the British, we also learned how to speak the English language because of the intermingling with the British people. So here we are, a trilingual language or culture. We speak Garifuna. There's Garinaga people, it's not strange for them to speak 3, 4, 5 languages.
Right.
So English, Garifuna, Spanish, French. Some in Belize, they got some Garinaga people because they were teaching in Belize, in the rural area of Belize. They also learned how to speak Maya and Quechua.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Now, what's fascinating to me is that from our conversations, that the Garifuna language is basically the closest thing that we have of a remnant of the Arawak language in some form, right?
Yes, most definitely, because like I said, the Arawak, which is actually Lokono. You see, I want to be politically correct here, Bobby, because I was in a symposium one time in Trinidad, and a lady stood up and said, Arawak, and then the Arawak posse, the group, they got up and they said, excuse with no disrespect, we want to be known as Lokono.
Oh,
so that's the reason why I keep saying Lokono. And the Kalinago did the same thing because they didn't want to be known as Carib.
Right.
And we, as Garinago, we don't want to be known as Black Caribs also, so we're Garifuna.
Right. Now, have the Garifuna people, besides Honduras, Belize, etc., have they, are there colonies or groups of Garifuna like in places like Colombia, Panama, etc., or is just specifically these places?
Well, the hub of the Garinaga people is in Honduras. That's where we landed, our ancestors landed, and then some moved to Belize, Guatemala, Nicaragua subsequently, in those 3 countries. Okay. But they might be Garinaga people living in Colombia, like you said, because we are a diasporic people, right. And you can find Garinaga people almost anywhere on this planet.
Well, obviously we have drums here. When we talk about drums, we got to talk about Africa, all of our rhythms, wherever you are from in Latin America, even in Argentina, which is very European based. Well, they have drums there too, and they have their roots in Africa. Tell us a little bit about these drums, and we have some master drummers here. They're so busy that somebody's calling them right now for a gig. But we have some master drummers here, and tell us first a little bit about the drums, and then tell us who we have here and what tradition they're going to represent, because there are regional differences.
Okay, well, the drums that you see here, you're looking at Garifuna drums, okay? These are Garifuna drums, all of them. If you notice, they have some small ones, like this one right here. Mm-hmm. The one that Bodoma is having right now, that's considered a small or primero. We call them, the small drums are primero.
Okay.
Primero are, in Spanish is first, so
right.
Those are the first drum. And the bigger ones, like what Myles having right there and this one right here, you call them segunda. Okay, so the primero drum, or the primero drummer, he is the most prolific drummer. He will play very fast. He will look at the dancers, and depending on how the dancer is dancing, if the dancer break, then the primero drum is going to break also. Right. And the segundo, on the other hand, that's what keeps the pace. The segundo keep the pace. Mm-hmm. The segundo keep the pace. So what it does, it it steps it up, the tempo, or it slows it down. So basically, that's what you're going to be seeing here. But for our event, for what is taking place here today, we're talking about the different genres, the different style, and also the different way of playing from the three specific countries: Honduras, Belize, and Guatemala.
Now,
Okay.
one fascinating thing that I noticed here, before we go on, I'd like to remind everybody that's viewing right now that you will be able to ask questions live. Just type in your questions in the chat, and Elena Martinez will relay them to me, and we'll relay them to whoever you're asking here. Now, I noticed one thing that is that's very characteristic of your drums is that you have snares or wires on top. Now, what are they made out of?
Okay, if you look, some of the drums, it depends on who make the drum. It could be the wire from guitars.
Right.
It can also be wire itself. It can also be wire itself. Those thin metal wires
Right.
that they use, and that is mostly for the primero. If you look at the primero, they mostly have the guitar wires or the thin metal wires because it gives that snare sound.
Right.
It gives the snare sound, and if you notice the primero, because they're smaller, the pitch is higher. Okay, so you're gonna hear it like very high pitch playing, and it's going to be very fast. The primero drummer is mostly prolific and fast when he's playing or when she's playing. The segundo, if you look at it, it can be thin, rope, made out of, you could say cloth, or you could say strings,
yeah.
But it's less, it's not more of a snare, so it's going to give you that bass. It's actually to give you that bass, and it accentuates the bass because the big drums, it has a lower pitch.
Right.
And because of the lower pitch, that's what holds the music. The bass is what holds the music. It holds the tempo. It determines the tempo, and it's constant. That is the constantness of the music that you're going to be hearing. If it's paranda, you will hear the constant paranda bass. If it's punta, you will hear the constant punta bass. If it's hugu, you will hear the constant hugu bass. That's what the bass does. It holds it down.
Right. Now, I noticed also that you use like a large maraca and at times a seashell, like a horn, right?
Yeah, that's conch.
A conch
Yeah,
shell.
conch. Yeah, the conch. It's been a part of our culture from memorial time. Okay, and there's different way how the conch shell are used, because I know in Belize what we do is when fishermen goes fishing,
right,
and they come back with fish to sell for the community to know that there's fish to be sold or to buy. They're gonna play the conch shell.
Okay.
So it's like a summoning the people. The shells summons the people so that they can come and buy.
Right.
But that's on a traditional level. But then it's the same thing that we use the conch shell also to summon people to come so that they can dance when we're playing the drums.
Right. So we have drums providing rhythm. We have the conch shell in a sense providing some type of announcing call.
Yes.
We have the maraca that
got the
holds
maracas, yeah.
that's kind of a glue, rhythmic glue as well. Then we have dance, right?
Yeah, we have different dance. Each genre, each Garifuna genre that we have here, it's just that we're focusing on the rhythm and the different variety of rhythms, how it's played from the different countries. But each dance has a each genre,
yeah,
each genre has a dance.
Right, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we have one of the grand masters
Oh, yeah.
of the music here, Bodoma.
Yes.
And where's Bodoma from? What region is he from?
Well, I know where Bodoma's from because Bodoma's from all over.
Misterio.
But I can tell you as a good friend of mine, Bodoma is from Giriga.
Okay.
Girigalida
Santa Fe.
Santa Fe. Santa Fe, Honduras.
Oh,
Yes, from Honduras. A Garifuna village off the coast of the Caribbean Sea in Honduras. Santa Fe.
Wow.
Giriga in Garifuna.
So, Bodoma, when did you start drumming and playing this music?
No, since I was very, very young. Yeah,
Si quieres hablar en español, yo te traduzco.
no hay problema. Pues comienzo a tocar pero fíjate, en Guiriga yo no tocaba.
When he was
Solamente.
younger, he didn't play in guirigas.
Okay. Sí, no tocaba en Guiriga. But once I get to San Pedro Sula, when I went to my high school in San Pedro Sula, in that time it was 1991. And we opened like a very small Garifuna village there. He called Alfonso Lacayo. All right. And then when we was there, so we was Garifuna, but nothing Garifuna was happening there.
Right.
And I say, when Giriga, a lot of things, so Garifuna tradition was happening, but now over here. So that's why I start playing the drum and trying to sing in Garifuna. Because in my village in Giriga, I was like Christian. At that time, the religious people doesn't want to play, so they was not able to play drum.
Wow, so
Not even singing
they didn't
Garifuna.
even want you to play drums.
Yes, because drum was kind of devotee.
Yeah, Bobby, I can elaborate on that because what happened is that the drums, because of the stigma, you know about the slavery, during slavery when they exactly. So, but in the Garifuna culture, in the Garifuna, with the Garinagu people, what happened was the missionaries, when they come to Belize or they come to Honduras, they also come to Guatemala, the different missionaries, the Catholics, the Nazarenes, the Baptists, they come and they look at the drums because they do not understand the purpose, how we use the drums. They look at it as worshiping false god or the devil worship. Right. So they stigmatize the drum and they don't want people to play the drums. So there are some so-called religious Garinagu people who, because they want to follow their faith, they denounce the drum. And then they have the traditionalists who are steadfast. This is our culture. We are not going to get rid of our drums. We're going to stand firm, and so we hold on to it. So that's basically what I was talking about.
Fantastic. Well, since we have these drums here and everybody wants to, I'm sure, hear them, vamos a dejarlo tocar un poquito. Let's let them play a little bit. And first, explain to us in a short way in your native language, Garifuna, so people can hear how beautiful it sounds, the cadence, the rhythm of it, what they're going to do, and then you could translate for us in English.
Gwento le furume ba wadiga wahura ba musu hugu. Wadiga ba lo lahur bodoma buge ba bahur hugu. Lagi meti bahur hugu ke hafaru yara in Indura aba megeti ladigani Alex luma Myles Casey hafaru hugu yara Balisi. Lagi meti lira aba megeti lafaru Chocola Juan hugu Casey hadigani Wadimal. Okay? So what I just said, Bodoma and Gomany, they will play hugu hugu, a Garifuna genre, and normally I want to, give a little definition because hugu hugu is a sacred, semi-sacred, and semi-secular dance or genre. Okay. In other words, we play this in a social setting. And we also do it in worship, in the temples and in the Garifuna Dabuyaba. We did it in the Dabuyaba. We also do it in church, in the regular church where we praise God with our drums. So they are sacred instruments. Okay? So here we go with Hugu Hugu Honduras style.
Fantastic. And I'm going to stand over there, get out of the way, so that you can see the mastery of these great musicians. And this young man is Gomany is Bodoma's son, right? All right. So, sigue la tradición.
Dice mi nombre. Okay. That was what you call Hugu Hugu Honduras style. Okay? If you notice, it's sacred, it's also secular, and the way how Bodoma and his son did it just a while ago, it was very fast to a certain extent, but that is their style. That is the way, because sometimes it's a little
And
fast.
there's a dance that accompanies that
Yes,
as
that's
well.
right. There's a dance that accompanies that.
And is it and I'm relating it to my tradition from my ancestral homeland, Puerto Rico, where we have the barriles, the barrel drums known as the barriles de bomba, and there's a single dancer that comes up to the drums. And in our case, the primo, or the subidor, which in your case is the primera or primero, would speak following the dancer. So in your tradition, the same thing?
So it's basically, it's similar.
Right.
The similarities are there. In most cases, that's what's the case, because in Honduras, the way you see Bodoma play just a while ago, that is the way that everybody in Honduras played. You're gonna see how Alex and Myles play. This is mostly from a Belizean way of playing.
Oh, okay.
And then you're gonna also see how they play from in Guatemala.
So we're gonna hear them do the same rhythm?
Yes, it's
But
gonna be the same rhythm.
But in
another-
Belizean style?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Alex, how are you, man? I know Alex for many years, like I know you. So he's part of our extended family here at the BMHC. Now, these are the colors of your flag, the Garifuna flag?
Yeah, black, white, and yellow.
Fantastic. So I'm going to bring this microphone over here in case these gentlemen are going to sing, so that way they can hear, everybody can hear their vocals. Okay? I'll just bring it around just like this.
Yeah. Actually, Bodoma just decided to sing because that's what he usually do, but it's actually to just play the rhythm.
Okay, so they're going to just play rhythm but not sing. Okay. So I'll move this out of the way. Unless you want to sing. But he has a microphone.
That was from the Belize style, hugu hugu.
I could see, just from the segunda part, I could just see the slight difference.
Yeah.
In the phrasing and everything.
Exactly, because that's basically how it goes. You know, as a matter of fact, even in Honduras, different part in Honduras, they play different rhythms also. Okay? But then basically you can hear the distinct difference because earlier Bodoma was playing a faster hugu hugu. And then when you notice Myles and Alex play, it was a little slower.
Right.
That's how. So now we're gonna go now to another country known as Guatemala, and it's gonna be Chocola doing it with Max, Luma Max with Max. It's gonna be Chocola and Max playing, and Juan Carlos is gonna do maracas.
Well, this is great because we get to see how the maracas are utilized in
Yes.
the tradition. Fantastic.
Give it up, give it up. Yeah, so
That was fantastic. Again, I could hear the differences. Yes, especially in the segunda part. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, even though it's hugu hugu, right? One genre, hugu hugu, you hear the different way of playing coming from Honduras.
Right.
You hear the different way of playing coming from Belize, and you hear the different coming from Guatemala.
Right. And it's always, when you play the maracas, it's always in a pair then. Like, because in Puerto Rico, when we play in our tradition, bomba, we use one giant maraca, you know? So, which I've never gotten an answer why we only use one maraca, pero así es la vida, you know? So
Yeah, in the Garifuna culture, when it comes to music, we use two maracas.
Yeah.
You see, because the maracas is also an integral part of the percussion that we use. They're all percussive instruments, except the conch shell. But the maracas gives it that steadiness.
Now, at times I've seen you use in performance when I've seen these rhythms played, sometimes tortoise shells or turtle shells. Is that part of the tradition, or is that something that was added on later?
Yes, the turtle shell came in as, to my knowledge, it started with Pen Cayetano, especially, but there's different versions, you know, because you will hear people from Honduras talk about including turtle shell, or you will hear people from Guatemala talking about including the turtle shell,
And
to
those
my
turtles,
knowledge-
those turtle shells, for those of you watching, are struck with sticks
Yes, yeah.
or mallets. Yeah.
What happened is that the person who coined the term Punta Rock, because it was when Pen Cayetano in the early 1980s in Belize, Dangriga, Belize, when he came with the Turtle Shell Band, Pen Cayetano and the Turtle Shell Band. He coined the music that they were playing Punta Rock. So even if they were using the turtle shell in Honduras or Guatemala, they were not calling it Punta Rock. It was called Punta Rock in 1980 with Pen Cayetano. So the glory and the innovativeness is given to Pen Cayetano in Belize as the person who introduced or brought in the turtle shell into the Punta Rock era.
Now, relating this to the roots in Africa, what would you say is the root of your drumming style? Is it Yoruba based? Is it Arara based? Is it Congo based? Is it?
That's a very good question, Bobby, because like I said, when the Africans came prior to Columbus, they were coming from West Africa. So I don't want to pinpoint and say specifically Nigeria or Ghana or Sierra Leone or wherever.
Right.
It can be, so what I do, West Africa, the whole region, it came from West Africa, that whole region. So but what music does, it transcends beyond words and beyond language. So you can hear your sound in our music. You can hear other people's sound in our music. We can hear our sound in other people's music. So basically the drum speaks for itself.
Right.
It's just a different way how the drummers play, or how the culture of the people play and their accent on the drum that makes it different. But when you play that drum, or when you play the Congo drum, when you play the timpani, when you play any percussion instrument, you will hear the bass if you play in the middle, you will hear the tone if you play on the side, you will hear the flam, you will hear the slap, and then it's just the accent that differentiates it.
Right. Now, I'd like to remind everybody viewing right now, please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat, and we will relay them to these great, fantastic musicians that are right here. What are we going to hear next,
The next
James?
genre that we're going to hear is it's going to be a little, normally the paranda. So a little history about the paranda. When the Garinago people were exiled from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, actually from Baliso, the island itself, when they were loaded onto the 11 British ships, they were sailing, and they were sailing westward, coming towards Roatan, Honduras. So when they landed in Honduras, they came in contact with the Spanish people. Okay? So it was there that they look, observe, and they just start watching how the Spanish people use their guitar, playing their guitar, and we incorporated the guitar into our music, and we call it parranda. Okay, and we also use the drums, the segundo drums, the primera drums, the turtle shell, the maracas, the conch shell, and including the guitar to give it that parranda sound. And the parranda is mostly social commentary, talking about issues in the community. It's also political. Okay, you can talk about politics, and it's also about you know, like when people in the community have fuss and quarrel among themselves. In the Garifuna culture, we sing about issues among ourselves. So if our neighbor is talking about us, we're gonna sing a song about that, why this neighbor is talking about it. If it's about a love song, we can also, we sing about love, we sing about our sorrows. So parranda is mostly on a social commentary level.
Fantastic.
So that's what you're going to be hearing right now with Bodoma and Gomany, and from the Honduras style.
Right, and just for you viewers out there that know a little bit about parranda, the way we interpret it in Puerto Rico, for us, our parranda is a procession, a celebratory procession during Christmas time. And we've had here for how many years, Elena? 6 years, 5 years? Until the pandemic stopped, that we've had parranda con parranda here at the Bronx Music Heritage Center, which is Garifuna parranda with Puerto Rican parranda. It's been an incredible event every time we've done it, as you well know, James, bringing both communities together through the drum, through the music, and we'll be starting that again as soon as we can, especially at the New Bronx Music Hall. So let's hear some parranda.
Okay. Okay. If you notice, Bobby, that again, it was a fast-paced parranda. Parranda Bugasa Libra.
This is one of the parranda style in Honduras. That's from the East Coast. We have 3 different styles of parranda in Honduras.
Well, maybe you could give us the other 2 styles really quick.
Okay.
So which style, that's the East Coast style? And so now which
From
is,
the East Coast,
okay, so now this style is from where?
from the Middle Coast.
Okay.
Okay.
Man, fantastic. That bass, the bass of the segunda, oh man, that just hits you right in your, muchacho, man.
And it stays with you.
The other one, very quick.
Okay, now this is from where now? The next one.
For the southern, like south, the south.
Okay.
And the south, no, the central, what you do? The south.
Fantastic. Well, I don't want to get in trouble with anybody saying which is my favorite, but but I like them all. They're all fantastic. And we have a question from the audience here. Is there any way you could explain the differences between the regional styles to those of us without musical ears?
Well, what they need to do, yeah. Well, if you're listening, this is for the one who just asked the question. If you listen carefully and keenly, the two in front on the far end, on the left, that's from Honduras. They're from Honduras. So listen carefully, because the next two, they're from Belize, and then you will have to determine the different sound. And the one on my right, they're from Guatemala. You will also listen and hear the different sounds. So that's basically how I can explain the differences, because if you notice, you mentioned regional, and I want to consider Honduras, Belize, and Guatemala in the same region. So it's the same region, and it's just a different way how it's being played or interpreted from Honduras, Guatemala, and Belize.
This kind of relates like to the Olympics right now, man. Tenemos una competición
Yeah,
ahora.
so what we're going to listen to now, and this is for the person who asked the question, this is paranda coming from Belize, the Belize style. It goes like this. And it's going to be Myles on the segundo and Alex on the primero. There you have it. There you have it, Bobby.
Yeah, that's those of you who are those of you who are fans of Carlos Santana. That's like the basic rhythm of one of their first hit records, Jingo. You know? Yeah. Wow, and it also is very. I'm watching it. So of course, I'm relating it to my own Afro-Puerto Rican culture. Very much the cadence of what we call plena, which is played on the panderetas, the frame drums. So, man, fantastic. Well, we're all related because we're all part of the diaspora, you know. El tambor llama y el tambor une, you know. The drum calls and the drum unites. So.
Music transcends language.
Yeah.
Music transcends language.
Most definitely, man.
It's universal.
Yeah, beautiful, Alex. Yes.
So now we're gonna listen to Paranda, Guatemala style.
Our next competitor, yes.
Well, variety, our next variety.
Pancho.
There you
Yeah.
have it.
Man,
See,
that-
it just shows the difference.
it's very intense,
It's
very
the same.
intense.
It's the same rhythm, or it's the same genre. They call it the same name.
Right, right.
But then when you hear there's so many difference in it. So, and that's what brought the beauty of it.
Right.
That's the beauty of it. You know, your own interpretation from the country that you're from, and then you can feel the difference, and then you can appreciate it.
Right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. With this, there would be a guitar, you said?
Oh, yeah.
There would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
guitar, and of course, dancing, and then it would be vocals, too.
Yes, it's a full ensemble. It's going to
Wow.
be the primero drum, the segundo drum, the maracas. They're going to have the guitar, the conch shell, the turtle shell sometimes, and then voices.
Now, these songs and this style, you said that this gentleman had this band that he called it Punta Rock, the style.
That's
so
Pancatano.
this has been adopted and adapted to band performance.
Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah.
What Penn did in 1980, he took the traditional punta, which we will be doing shortly. He took punta, which was a moderate genre. It was more prolific, where the male and the female, they try to outdo each other dancing on the dance floor.
Okay.
And you're very energetic also, so you have to have a lot of energy to play the drums and also to dance. So hence the reason why we're leaving it for the last. But what Penn Cayetano did, he added the guitar, the electric guitar, and a snare drum, and also the turtle shells.
Okay.
You see, because he was actually Penn was he was an artist. He draws, okay? And in Belize, what happened is that the turtle shells, you can find them, especially when the turtle died of natural death. Sometimes, people get them to really eat them, which is fine. It's edible, very tasty, delicious dish. Turtle shell. So what happened, you can find the shells on the coast or in the river. And so what some people in Belize would do, they would bring the shells and give it to Penn so that he can draw on it.
Oh,
He
paint
can
it,
He can paint
yeah,
on,
wow,
and,
nice,
and, it's,
nice.
and you can use it to decorate your house.
So
your
he's very
wall.
famous as an artist, a
Yeah,
visual artist.
He's also an artist. So what happened, one day, Penn was in his art studio, and as a musician, he started hitting the different cracks on the turtle shell, and he noticed that each crack has a different sound. And so he said, this is interesting, and the innovativeness in him again, he took it and then he added, to the sound, to the percussion.
Right.
And then on top of that, he called the music, this new era or this new genre, Punta Rock.
Fantastic.
So Punta Rock came about in 1990 with Penn Cayetano and 6 other musicians. If I recall clearly, they were Higgins, and his name is Eugenio Higgins. He played the turtle shell. Then they have the original turtle shell player also was Mohabub Flores. Then we have Jeep Lewis. Then we also have another Miami is Martinez. So these guys are, I think one have transcended to have left us, but the majority of them are still alive. And
the band still exists?
Not really, but Penn is still active with his family. He plays he maintains the music. So the Penn Cayetano and the family now. But then the Penn Cayetano and the Turtle Shell Band is not in existence anymore.
But if we went to YouTube right now, could we hear some of those recordings?
Of course.
Oh,
of course.
fantastic.
You can find, and it has a distinct sound for that era. Yeah.
Great. So we have some more questions here. We have a good friend, Bob Ramos, who asks, I have a question about the snare wires on the drum. Is that a Western influence or an African precedent?
It could be both. It could be both because I feel like it can be Western in the sense that we're using a material that was European made, the wire, the metal wire. But at the same token, it can also be creativity on the part of the musician. You know, taking it and putting it across the skin of the drum, and so that it can give it a different sound.
Right.
So I believe that it can go both ways.
It is very unique. I mean,
Yeah.
I could basically tell, oh, it's Garifuna drumming just from the wire sound.
Yeah,
You know, so
yeah. And it does make it unique, because if you look at the drums that you play, Bobby, coming from Puerto Rico, it would practically be the same sound if we didn't probably put the nylon string
Right,
or the nylon rope to make it, to give it that distinct sound,
Right.
you know? So the difference helped.
That's the one. This is bomba drum.
Okay, exactly. You see, he's using a bomba drum, but then he
Bodoma,
adapted
yeah,
with
yeah,
his snare,
yeah.
you know? So it talks.
well, I'm sure eventually some bombero is going to do it one day. He goes, oye, vamos a tratar esto, coño. You know,
Yeah.
So it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But we'll definitely know that it comes
But-
from your influence.
Yeah,
you know,
Bobby, what I want to say, you know, before we get through, it's a pressing information that I want to just let the audience know. There are these drums, these Garifuna drums that you see here, we consider them as sacred instruments.
Right.
Okay? Regardless of what outsiders or foreigners would say, regardless of their input or their perspective, we, Garinago people, we look at and we treat our drums with utmost respect, because these are the drums of our ancestors. These are the drums that speaks and represent us anywhere we go. There's issues happening in Honduras. There's issues with human rights violation taking place in Honduras right now. And what motivates the Honduran people, Garinago people, is the drums.
Right.
Okay, when the drum speaks, when the maracas play, when the conch shell is blown, you know, the people organize, the people are heard. We move with our rhythm, we move with our drums. So these are sacred instruments to us. When we pray and worship to our God, because we believe in God too, it might not be the way how other people worship, but we worship and we believe in God. We also believe in our ancestors. They are our angels, and we pay homage to them with our drums.
Most
And
definitely.
another thing that I want to say is for celebration. You know, we have our celebration when it comes to, you know, November 19th. When we were exiled, when our ancestors were exiled from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we commemorate that moment when we do a celebration, a festive celebration, November 19th in Belize. We do the same thing November 26th in Guatemala. We do the same thing April 12th in Honduras and Nicaragua. So these drums, they represent celebration. We celebrate, we entertain ourselves. We don't need no other foreign, you know, jukebox or boombox. You know?
Right.
These are our natural boombox. We also use it as a means of stress relief. You know, believe it or not, you know, when you're upset, you're angry, you know, you want to fight, we don't promote fighting. So we encourage the kids, if they want to fight among themselves, to get behind the drums, to play, to exert that energy, to vent, to take it out. And then sooner or later, when you realize you're tired, you're sweating, you forget about your anger, and you relieve naturally of stress.
Fantastic. Yes, indeed. And of course, that we inherited all that in the diaspora in the
Yeah.
Caribbean, Central and South America, from
if-
Africa. Yeah.
And if I want to speak to you, if you're couple villages away,
Sure.
if
Yeah.
I want to speak to you, you know, there's no telephone, Bobby.
I know.
There's no.
Was that you call? Was that you calling me last night during that rainstorm?
So what I would do in the middle of in the nighttime when everything
Sure,
is low and everything, I get behind that drum and then I would play that drum, and then far in the distance you would hear me. You would be like, okay, what's happening in that village? Okay, it sounds like a happy song. It's a happy rhythm. So that's a festival going on there. we go there next week.
Right.
But then if they hear a low, slow, and solemn beat, oh, maybe there's somebody died in that village.
Right.
So
right.
we're gonna go there and pay homage. So it's used as communication.
Right, right.
You know.
Well, speaking about what you were mentioning, Punta Rock, Bob Ramos asks again here, where is Andy Palacio in the timeline of Punta Rock? Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
that's
first of all, who is Andy Palacio so you can tell everybody?
Okay,
You know?
Andy Palacio, as far as I'm concerned, Andy was a martyr. He dedicated his life. He gave his life to promote Garifuna, to put Garifuna on the map, so to speak, Belize on the map, because Andy, he dedicated all his life to promote Garifuna. Andy he did so many songs, singing songs of encouragement, singing songs to encourage the youth to speak their language, singing songs to give advice, to go to school, to be positive. Andy was a musical prophet, and he was among us, but we realized that when the good Lord called for him. It was when Andy transcends, that's when we realize how important and how positive and how straightforward Andy Palacio was. He was the one who made Garifuna brought forward when he won the WMX award.
Oh,
He
the
won the
WMX,
WMX
yeah,
award. He was the one BBC, after his death, BBC gave him that reward after, when they realized the importance of what he did. Andy was like our Bob Marley.
Right, I
What
was
Bob
going to
Marley
make that
was
comparison.
like what Bob Marley was to Jamaica. But in the case of Andy, I feel like he represented all of the Caribbean, because as a Garifuna, and he was known in Cuba. He was known in Jamaica. He was known all over.
Right.
And Andy, one of his major accomplishments that people probably don't know of was Andy was seriously behind the literature when it comes to writing about the importance of the Garifuna language, why UNESCO proclaimed Garifuna as oral and intangible heritage to humanity.
Right.
It was a major proclamation that the UNESCO did to safeguard, because Garifuna was considered endangered, so they proclaim it as oral and intangible heritage to humanity to show how important it is. So Andy is sadly still missed today.
Right. Well, I mean, and we can hear his music
You can
on
hear
YouTube.
Andy's music all over,
Yeah.
and it's never gonna. His voice will never stop. He made an indelible mark, and it will always be like that.
Here we have another question that's very interesting. If musicians from all different countries were performing together, which style of parranda would you perform?
But no, I don't answer.
Gunche. Gunche is the rhythm that all Caribbean play. Gunche. Gunche is the same as a bomba. It's the same as Jamaican dancehall. Congo from Panama. Vallenato from Colombia, and all that. Gunche.
Alegría bombae, alegría bombae, alegría bombae, baila mi bomba doña Inés. Alegría bombae, alegría bombae, alegría bombae, baila mi bomba doña Inés. Tempo. Vámonos para Cuba, vámonos para Cuba, vámonos para Cuba. Ave María morena, morena o hielo. Ave María morena, ven pa' acá y baila. Ave María moreno, baila mi yambú. Ave María morena, el yambú pa' los maripá. El yambú pa' los maripá. Que chévere quiñongo ya. El yambú pa' los maripá. Ajá. El yambú pa' los maripá. Oh, beautiful.
So,
I hope that answers your question.
More Caribbean play bullshit.
yeah.
So, I think Bomba in the past used to call bullshit.
Wow.
It's the original.
It could be, you know. I mean,
Yeah, it just shows what Bodoma just described. It just shows that, you know, the music, the drumming, especially when it comes to percussion, it's right there. It's right there. The word is universal. It is universal. It's the way we play the drums to give it the accent, and that is going to determine wherever part of the world that will identify with it. So we can be anywhere, as long as we can close our eyes. We can be in the dark, and then if you don't know who's playing the drums, you can sing to it. The Brazilian can sing to it. The Jamaican can sing to it. Anybody can sing to it because it's that unifying force. You know, that was wonderful, Bodoma. So now.
yeah. What are we gonna hear next?
The next one is Punta.
Let's start the reverse now. Let's start with Guatemala first.
Okay, no problem. Now, Punta, I explained it earlier, but there's different definition for Punta coming from Honduras, coming from Belize, and coming from Guatemala. But the gist of it, it's a very prolific dance. You have to be very energetic to dance Punta. You have to have a lot of energy, so I suggest that before you dance, you eat a good plate of hudut. I'm a big hudut to look at like gagura soban bafaro. You can.
But tell us what that is first.
Hudutu is a favorite Garifuna dish with plantain. You ate hudut, but you probably call it mofongo, or they probably call it mofongo or whatever.
Iba a decir, es la misma, pero no puedo decirlo.
But when you take the plantain and you pound it, and then it becomes like a dough, like into
Masa,
when you
yeah,
knead bread. You take that, and then you take the coconut milk. Freshly squeezed, grated coconut milk. You take that, and then you season it with, whatever seasoning then you have some fresh fish coming from the ocean, and you put that together, and then you.
Man, I'm getting hungry already.
Eat that. Then when you eat that, it's gonna give you enough energy so that you will be able to get on the floor to dance Punta. Okay, so it's a whole process you have to do. So now we're going to do Punta, and it's going to come from Guatemala Punta style. Okay?
All right.
And it goes like this. Bodoma, Chocola and Juan Carlos. That's coming from Guatemala, Punta. Okay, and that was Chocola and Juan Carlos and Kaya Birra, Max on the maracas. Now we're gonna go to Belize style Punta, done by Myles and Alex. Come along. There we go. Belize style punta. Thank you, guys.
Fantastic.
Now we're going to go to Honduras.
So in Honduras, we have also 3 different styles of
Okay. Listen, guys, and it's okay. It's okay for Honduras because, for your information, Honduras has at least 54 to 57 Garifuna communities. So it's by right, that you will get different variation of the.
That answers the question. Somebody, and then I just asked me so somebody's asking a question, which is the region that dominates the most? So I guess you're just saying right now, Honduras, in terms of like its population and influence, in terms of the drumming and everything else.
So maybe that's the case because there's more people in Honduras, more Garinagu people living in Honduras compared to Belize and Guatemala.
Right,
the majority of the Garinagu now are here in New York. As a matter of fact, the Bronx. Yes.
So Elena has a question.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, we're going to get to Bodoma doing the different styles. But my question about the sort of, all these different styles between are sort of dialects of the drum. They're almost like dialects of the paranda, dialects of punta.
Okay.
If you were all together, and you didn't, Juan Carlos is from Guatemala, does he know the Honduran style? And if he didn't, which style would you decide to play? Like, we're going to play paranda right now, but I only know the paranda style from Honduras. Like, whose style would you choose?
Okay, they will play what they know. If I'm a drummer, as a drummer, playing from Belize, even if I go to Honduras to play, I'm going to play my style, unless I'm going to learn how to play the style in Honduras specifically. And basically, same thing with Guatemala. But the drummers, unless they are familiar with the different style specifically, then they will be able to play. But if not, hence the reason why you cannot just get any drummers to play together, because his way of playing, he might not be comfortable with it, and so they will not play. They will not play together. But he will find a partner who can play his style, and then they're gonna sound marvelous.
Because there is a place in Honduras called Aguan.
Lawan.
Santa Rosa de Aguan. The Fedu of Santa Rosa. Do you play Fedu for Santa Rosa de Aguan? Aguan. Lawan.
Lawan, how?
Lawan.
Yeah.
That's the only one who played the Lawan. You know the Lawan? Lawan is the only one who played it.
Okay, I do go on my punta.
Okay.
Let's do
Punta.
punta.
So that style that you just demonstrated on the segunda, that style is particular to where?
Particular from Santa Rosa de Aguan, Lawan. That's the only one who played like that. And the primero go quite different.
Wow. And this is in Honduras.
Honduras.
Wow. So if you hear somebody playing that, you know they're from that place.
Yes, we don't know. We know, yes. Okay.
Punta.
One of the London. Also we call Bangi de London and then Punta, London.
is that from the east, west, or center?
No, we play in all Honduras.
All of Honduras. Okay.
All right, we call it London. This one we call it London, but it's still Punta. All right, now Bangidi. We also call another one Bangidi. That's the oldest one.
It's also Punta.
Bangidi.
Again, the bass is so powerful, man.
Now, the oldest one is Bangidi. Mostly all of them, the difference in the bass segment.
Right. Very powerful. That to me sounds very Congo bass.
If you go by west coast Honduras, you're gonna hear this one, the Bangidi. We call Bangidi. If you go to east coast, you hear the London.
Okay.
And the middle, the other one.
Wow, fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Bodoma.
basically, what you guys just experienced here, this is for the audience and even for all of us here. What you guys just experienced and witnessed here is the different varieties of the same culture, okay? And the beauty of that, you know, if you are tired or don't want to hear one sound, you can use or go to another region and hear the same rhythm but a different variety, and it adds beauty to the culture. You know, variety adds. You know, rather than to have the same thing over and over. To me, as far as I'm concerned, the variety add to our culture, to our music, to our rhythms. So I believe that we can do impromptu, Bobby. I know. Yeah, I just.
Let me
want to
ask you
say
the
this.
last question first. This is an interesting question. Isaac Hirsch Goodwillick asked, is there an East African or Indian Ocean root to any of the rhythms?
Okay, what's his name?
Isaac Hirsch Goodwillick.
Isaac. Okay, Isaac. The mere fact that we are using these drums and their percussion instrument, there's direct connect to Africa. Bottom line, you know, the fact that we're using the drums, we're using our hands, and you know, we're carving these drums with our own hands in our region. We're using our natural resources when it comes to the trees, the trunk of the trees, cutting it down, you know, hollowing it out, and using the animal skins to put it together. If you look at the djembe drums, it's the same material used. Okay, let me give you an example. You see the drums with the African djembe drums? It's different from how they look here, but it's the same material that we use. So it's the same as when you take the rice and you take the beans and you take the chicken or whatever and you give it to a Puerto Rican lady, and you give it to a Garifuna lady, and you give it to a Haitian lady. That same material is going to taste different. Okay, it's going to taste different because of the ingredients and the culture that goes along with it. So here we are using the same drums, using the same the tree, using the same skin, and then we're having different sound.
We just wanted to differentiate East Africa from West Africa. We know a lot of the Caribbean have the West African roots. Has there been anyone talk about East African roots at all? I think that's what he wants to know. East African.
Well, like I said, Elena, to what I was trying to explain here, because when I think about the first country, when I think about East Africa in that region, I think about Tanzania, okay? And Tanzania, they have the same instruments, the djembe, and they have the different rhythms that they use. It's I guess what I'm trying to say here, to not confuse, what's his name? Isaac. Is to let him know that even if you're looking for differences, there are more similarities than differences. Okay, that's the best way how I can interpret his question to answer it. There are more similarities. There are a lot of similarities that we have when it comes to music coming from all over the world. There are so many similarities than differences. And the differences will come because of it's going to mostly be from an individual. Because there are musicians who are very innovative. They will create. You take the basic material, the basic ingredients, and you create. You make things that is different with what you have. Or you can call it fusion. You call it, I want to say it's fusion. You're taking a rhythm like what Bodoma just explained, using that Gunjai rhythm, and then you can play it to Jamaican music, you can play it to Brazilian music, so the similarities are there. I rest my case.
Before we go, one of the things that's curious about these drums, etc. So, and these rhythms have been adapted to band performance,
Yes.
etc. So, our young drummers now in all these regions, Belize, Guatemala, and Honduras, they're adapting these rhythms to instruments that we would normally see in a band, like conga drums, like that you would use. Every band would, any type of band from the Caribbean would use the congas for the generic, to be like a generic drum. So are you seeing anything like that happening right now, like at all?
You want to answer that?
Yes. I have a group called Lisani Bodoma's Kids. So they from different places.
Right.
Also from Jamaica. And then when they play, I saw here that from Belize, from Guatemala, and from all coasts of Honduras, and from all the Caribbean rhythms. And they put it together.
Right.
They play wide different, but it's still good.
They have a timbales and they have
Yeah.
Right, right.
incorporated.
And something similar to what Bodoma just said is a friend of mine, her name is Devior Rainey. Devior, you remember Rainey? So what Devior did, she get kids from different cultures and she put them together and she start going to different parts of the world. At one point she went to Belize and she incorporated the Garifuna rhythms. And then after they learn from the culture, they go to the culture to I guess to empathize, to know, to ask questions, and to know about the culture. And then they would take what they learn, and then they would start to compose. They would come back to New York, and they would compose from what they learned. And it would be amazing to hear punta, the punta beat in a different scenario. And I think basically that's what Bodoma was talking about.
Great. And as and we're going to see more and more. Eventually, I'm sure what's going to happen is there's going to be a Bronx style of Garifuna drumming that's going to evolve with the next generation of drummers, and they're going to be because they're going to be influenced by everything that they experience around them, etc.
Yes, I totally agree with that, because innovation, it's what you have. It's what you have as your resources, is what you take in your environment that you're going to utilize to create and to make more, and you take what is known and try to fuse it so that you can create something new with something that is already
Right.
there.
Now, the last question I have for you, let's teach us a little Garifuna. How would you say hello? Hello.
Okay, in Garifuna, they don't have a word per se for hello.
Okay.
To say hello, we don't have that. But what we do is we say, well, we ask the question, Ida binha?
Idabina?
Ida binha?
Idabina.
Ida binha?
Say one the last part.
Ida binha.
Idabina.
That's mean, how are you? So
Oh,
that's
okay.
our hello.
All right,
Ida
so-
binha? Oh, no matter. Ida binha. Right?
So I'm gonna try it out with my Garifuna. We have some Garifuna neighbors. Yeah, yeah.
That's right, yeah. This
And they're
guy-
gonna go to me. They're gonna go to me. Yeah, because I'll pronounce it
I mean,
incorrectly.
Ida binha. No person na Ida binha.
Okay,
You-
I gotta
you
write
see
that
now,
down.
in
And so
Spanish,
how would they respond? They say, "Hey, I'm fine." You know?
Yeah, magadiatina.
Okay.
Or I'm fine.
Right.
What they get?
Okay, great, great. And how would you say goodbye?
Ayo.
Ayo.
Ayo. So what we're gonna do is, Elena, I know we're probably turning it out, but
No, not at all. Not
not
at all. No,
Okay,
no.
because I was thinking, we can have like a jam session with these awesome musicians,
Almost definitely. What we would call a descarga. You know.
James, my experience, what happened in New York right now, there is so many bands, percussion band, the Garifuna percussion band, playing in New York, and all of them come from different places, Garifuna places. So the kids now adapting another rhythm,
Right.
and that from New York. Sueño. They play the segunda for punta like this.
Right, right.
Yeah, because initially I would say that's one other one.
Oh, okay.
But it's not one hour.
It's not
oh,
one
wait a
hour.
second. Yeah. And they dance different also. We have a dance for women called chumba. They start like dancing punta and then they start jumping, right? That's the style now, what they dancing in New York now. They not really dance punta. They dance sambai or chumba.
Are they incorporating breakdance moves at all? You know, I'm serious.
They don't dance like that back home. Let me go. Gomany gonna show you how they dance for you.
Bravo, bravo.
You go everywhere in the Garifuna village. They don't dance like that, like Miss Punta.
Here we have a good question. Can Bodoma show how the conch shell is played? Either now or during the descarga, the jam session.
Well, he can show first. Arufu da befruni. Lo hagambo ni lo harihini. So if you're in a Garifuna village and you hear that, and or it could be like 10 o'clock in the morning, or it could be like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, that means you can go to the market or to the beach side so that you can buy some fish, okay?
Wow. Yeah, so if I hear that tomorrow morning, I can, chacho, hay que comprar pescado, marico. Fantastic. You know, it's just so, it's the similarities, it's just amazing. Like that rhythm that you just played. Here, I'm going to show you real quick. Déjame ver. Préstame esa conga ahí. And I'm just showing this to show the similarities, you know? Eso se llama rumba abierta en Cuba, you know, in Cuba, that's rumba abierta, so just, man, the similarities, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's one language, guys. One language. Yeah, one language. Percussion.
Okay, so we're going to close off. If there's no more questions from the audience, ladies and gentlemen, it's been so enlightening, so fantastic, so fantastic. I want to thank Brother Maestro James Lovell here. Let's give a big round of applause.
Thank you, thank you.
James has a beautiful voice. He's also a fantastic guitarist besides being able to play all of these drums. Maybe we'll get to hear him sing right now, okay? So when you guys want to do like a descarga or a rumba amongst the drummers, as they would say in Cuba, Puerto Rico, what would you play? What rhythm would you play? Okay. And with that, we want to thank everybody here. The co-artistic director, Elena Martinez, here. Nate and Miguel for doing the sound for us and doing the live streaming. All of you who are watching right now, remember, this is archived. So if you joined a little bit late and didn't get to see everything, as soon as it ends, it will go on a continuous loop. Okay, and you can view it again, over and over again, study the rhythms, etc., etc. How would you say good night, James?
Buiti guyon. Sun ha arihibani lewa digbe ya guyon le sereme wanya hon anihe ge garati hagiri guagadin lo harihini lo ago Facebook bigi. Okay? Sereme wanya hon. Aniha lagumu hon. Hahura ogri ha gunjay. Webuga wahura musu gunjay. Busate gelo.
Good night, everybody. Buenas noches.
Hey! Ekame sabahara tuwo. Ekame sabahara tuwo. Ejuwabon. Ahinabon. Egiriguabon. Ekame sabahara tuwo. Ekame sabahara tuwo. Elindaria guabana. Elindaria guabana. Elindaria guabana. Owe funasa boye. Elindaria guabana. Owe. Queimalo, Itálala, Matijaiba. Yeah.
Buenas noches.